Today, we're going to talk about something huge. We're going to look at a completely different way to measure the health of our civilization. See, for centuries, we've been chasing this one single number, and that number might just be leading us right off a cliff. So it's time we asked, is there a better way to measure what actually matters?
So let me just start with a question. Is our main definition of success completely insane? I mean, think about it. We have built our entire global system to chase one thing, gross domestic product, or GDP. But what if that metric isn't just a little flawed? What if it's actively rewarding the very things that hurt us, destruction and decay?
I mean, just look at this stuff. It's wild. When a hurricane absolutely devastates a city, it's a human tragedy, right? But for GDP, it's a stimulus package. All the rebuilding, the insurance claims, yep, that all gets counted as a win. A single person's cancer diagnosis can pump hundreds of thousands of dollars into the economy through treatments. A divorce, well, that means you need 2 houses, 2 cars, 2 of everything, doubling consumption. And that phone in your pocket, the one that's basically designed to slow down and die in a couple years, that's just called growth. We've literally created an economy that profits from disaster, sickness, and waste.
It's like we're piloting a 747 through the storm of the century. You know, the wings are on fire, the plane is in a nosedive, but we're just pointing at the dashboard saying, hey, don't worry, the in-flight movie is playing perfectly. We are being guided by the wrong instruments, and we desperately, desperately need a new compass, a compass for sanity.
So where do we find one? Well, let's look at a real-world example. Let's look at a nation that, maybe without even realizing it at first, chose a totally different path. Let's talk about Costa Rica.
So back in 1948, Costa Rica did something that was just unheard of. It completely abolished its military. And the money that would have bought tanks, it went to teachers. And the energy that would have gone into training soldiers went into training doctors. And by the 1990s, they became the first tropical country to actually reverse deforestation. They figured out that a living forest, providing clean water and attracting tourists, was worth way more than a pile of lumber. They had discovered, without putting a name on it, that a nation's true health depends on a balanced portfolio of different kinds of wealth. And that brings us to the core of this whole explainer, a new framework for that balanced portfolio. It's called the Mind Dashboard, and it's based on 4 distinct but totally interconnected forms of capital that every thriving system, from a rainforest to a company, has to maintain. Okay, first up is M, for material capital. Now, this isn't just about raw resources or stuff. It's about matter that's been put into useful, organized configurations. Think of it like this. A pile of sand is just material. A microchip is material capital. A random patch of woods is material. A sustainably managed forest that provides clean water is material capital. It's our physical foundation.
This slide just perfectly contrasts 2 completely different ways of thinking. On one hand, you have the Inca. They built these incredible agricultural terraces that turned steep mountainsides into productive farmland that is still feeding people today. They understood sustainable wealth. And then there's us. We drill for oil, count its depletion as an increase in GDP. We're basically mistaking the liquidation of our planet's savings account for actual income.
Next is I, for intelligence capital. This is our collective library of knowledge, our skills, our wisdom. It's everything from a scientific discovery to a grandmother's recipe. And this one has a kind of magical property. It's the only form of capital that actually grows the more you share it.
And this slide makes such a critical point. The ancient Library of Alexandria. It wasn't just a bunch of scrolls. It was the ancient world's Google. And when it burned, humanity literally forgot how to make things like concrete for 1,000 years. Today, we've got the exact opposite problem. We are drowning in data, but absolutely starving for wisdom. We mistake having access to everything for actually understanding anything.
Then we have N, for network capital. This is all about trust. It's the relationships and the lines of communication that let everything else flow smoothly. When your network capital is high, things just work better. Costs are lower, information spreads fast, and communities are way more resilient. It's basically the circulatory system of a healthy society.
And man, this slide brilliantly shows how that capital can decay. The Venetians built a global empire on trust. A merchant's word was his bond, because if you broke it, you were out of the network, and that was basically a death sentence. Now compare that to today. We build so-called social networks that are really just attention-harvesting machines. They're designed to generate outrage just to keep us scrolling, which systematically destroys the very social trust that makes up real network capital.
And finally, there's D, for diversity capital. This is the portfolio of options a system holds on to. It's the variety of different approaches, different perspectives, different possibilities.
You can think of it as a civilization's insurance policy against a future you can't predict. It's what makes a system not just tough, but anti-fragile, meaning it could actually get stronger from shocks. The Incas were geniuses at this. They cultivated 3,000 varieties of potato. They weren't optimizing for the most potatoes this year. They were optimizing for having potatoes forever. If one crop failed due to a blight or a weird weather pattern, others would survive. We do the exact opposite. We create these massive global monocultures, one type of banana, one type of wheat, that are super efficient in the short term, but are catastrophically fragile to a single shock.
Okay, so how do these four capitals fit together? They don't just sit next to each other in a list. No, they interact in a very specific and absolutely crucial way. This is the core insight of this entire framework.
They don't add up, they multiply. Material times intelligence times network times diversity equals the total vitality or health of a system. So what does that mean? It means that a 0 in any one of those categories results in total system failure. It doesn't matter how high the other three are. The math itself forces us toward balance.
And hey, this isn't just a theory. Look at the Soviet Union. They had immense material capital, all those natural resources, and really impressive intelligence capital in their scientists and engineers. But their network capital was poisoned by state-sponsored mistrust, and their diversity capital was systematically crushed by central planning. They multiplied by near 0 in 2 categories, and the entire system just collapsed.
Now, this framework isn't just for judging civilizations. It's an incredibly powerful tool for looking at our own lives. It's a guide for what it actually means to be a flourishing human being.
So take a look at this. A person who focuses only on material capital might be super wealthy but in terrible health with no real friends. Someone who only pursues intelligence might be a brilliant academic but totally isolated. The social butterfly with tons of network capital might know everyone but have no deep skills to offer. And the person obsessed with diversity might dabble in a million things but never master any of them. A flourishing person, on the other hand, cultivates a balanced portfolio. They take care of their health, they never stop learning, they nurture deep relationships, and they stay open to new possibilities.
Because ultimately, health, whether we're talking about a complex civilization or a single human soul, is the product of a balanced portfolio. That multiplication principle is unforgiving. So the final question I have is for you. What does your mind portfolio look like?